of the last regular meeting minutes. Is there any corrections? None being, it'll stand approved. The next item is item 5 for public comment. If anyone has anything they'd like to talk about that's not on the agenda, we allow 5 minutes for each person, and if you would state your name, please. Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, fellow commissioners, Mr. Gazelle, Mr. Allen. I'm Don Jurenberg. I live at 1715 Mike's Drive. And I may be out of order because I wanted to mention something about the fireworks. If that's not allowed, I'll sit down.
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. I had the pleasure this morning to get a bird's eye view of our lovely city. Chuck Spikes took me up in his Stearman. And if you've never been up in a biplane, it was something. I'm also speaking not for Joy Anstead, but on her behalf, and she resides at 310 East Thompson. She's affectionately called the Caboose Lady, and I'm sure you all knew Charlie. As I mentioned, I'm not familiar with your protocol, parliamentary procedure, what have you, but the formal approval of the days and times allowed for discharge of fireworks. I've lived in this beautiful city since 1996, coming here to work for the school system. And some of you may or not remember I used to have a bird dog, Jack. And germane to the question is, he knew that there would be a gun going off because he was in the field doing his job. But every July 4th, he came into the house and stayed in the house. And I assume, I don't know, that in the field he knew there was going to be a gunshot when he pointed the bird. On July 4th, he went bonkers. I also had quite a bit of trouble sleeping till I retired because of the fireworks going off. And then witnessing the trash they leave in the streets. And Joy is also known as the cat lady. She has a goodly number of cats. She has the same issues that I do concerning the fireworks going. I thought over the last several years, the amount of time allotted was more than adequate. I and she intend to watch the city fireworks, which are magnificent. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else? Okay, next will be item 6.
Item 6A, Mayor and Commissioners, the governing body is asked to consider and approve allowing the mayor to proclaim June 2nd, 2015 as Joel Salmon's Day. And is Joel here?
Yes, he
All right,
is.
Joel.
I'll make the motion to approve the proclamation.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
And Joel, if you'd like to join the mayor right here, she'll read the proclamation.
Stand by your side and take this.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hi, Joel.
I can't.
How are you doing?
So sorry.
Okay. Whereas Joe Salmons began working for Dillon's East in Garden City on July 16, 1992, and has devoted nearly 23 years to customer service. And whereas Joel has become a fixture of Dillon's Front Inn in his position of a courtesy clerk, greeting guests with a warm smile, sometimes accompanied by a big hug. And whereas Joel has been a past recipient of Dillon's Associate of the Porter Award, an honor for which he was selected by his peers. And whereas over the course of his many years with Dillon's, Joel has also been recognized in customer surveys as being a great associate. Now therefore, I, Janet Dahl, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim June 2nd, 2015 as Joel Salmon's Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their sincere appreciation and thanks for his service to the customers of Dillon's East and to this community. Signed and sealed this 2nd day of June, 2015.
Thank you.
All right, you look over here and smile. Maybe one more. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Do you guys want to get in a photo?
Sure.
All right.
Any friends and coworkers and family? Anybody that's encountered Noah yet?
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Very good.
Hey, congratulations, Joel.
Thanks. Yeah.
Not too many employees made the list.
Ready to move on, Mayor? Item 7A, the staff would like to take this opportunity to introduce and welcome James Demermuth, City Prosecutor. James' first day on the job was May 18th. And Jennifer, I'll let you take it from here and give a little more introduction.
Okay, this is James. He started on May 18th. You want us to come put it?
Nah,
This is James. He started with the city prosecutor's office and is the new city prosecutor as of May 18th. Started handling cases on his own last Thursday and did his own docket on Monday. So I'll let him give what he wants to say.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I really look forward to working for you all.
We're lucky to have you, James.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Welcome.
you, James.
Mayor and Commissioners, the staff has provided cost information regarding improvements to Bellevue Avenue between Main Street and 8th Street. The request for such an improvement was brought before the Commission by a resident during your town hall meeting. Staff will continue discussions with the affected properties regarding cost share options for the Commission's consideration at a later date. The material that's been provided by Steve shows you sort of an overview of traditionally when these projects have come before the Commission, how the cost share would work, and an engineer's estimate of the costs. If you've got any questions for Steve or Sam, they're available to answer those. Otherwise, our next step will be, again, to engage the affected property owners and move forward if they have an interest in moving forward. Item 7C, staff has provided several items of information for the governing body's review. If you've got any questions on those, we'd be happy to try to answer them.
Got a quick question. I noticed on the, hold on, let me get to it. The police report. Can we get a, I mean, it gives us month by month, but can we, would there be a possible way to get like a year comparison? They did it on response times. They had like a 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year, but I'd like to see if we're keeping steady or if we're, you know, how we're on a, you know, 1, 3 year and
Something like that.
you know,
Yeah.
something like that. And we've got month to month, but just like to see a comparison if that's possible.
Yeah, we'll work on that. Good suggestion. If there's no other questions, I'll draw your attention to the meetings of note. If there's things that require RSVPs, please read those through CLAN. parade season, so make sure
Great.
make sure we you let Celine know early enough in advance that she can arrange for
You-
a golf
Transportation.
tour.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're walking. So, there's no questions on those. I think we're ready for item 8A, which is the appropriations ordinance number 2389-2015A.
I make a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 2389-2015A.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay. Item 9A, which if approved would be resolution number 2635-2015, authorizes the removal of motor vehicle nuisances from 2316D Avenue and 201 East Emerson.
I move we approve resolution 2635-2015.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 10A, the governing bodies asked to consider a request from Wheatland Electric Cooperative for a franchise, and I'll turn it over to Randy Grissel to begin this item.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. This matter was originally set by council with Wheatland's council for 2 o'clock this afternoon, but we contacted Wheatland and requested that to be moved up on the agenda if they could be available. And I see Mr. Miller here from Wheatland as well as other Wheatland representatives. And we have their consent to go ahead and proceed with this matter at this time. Is that correct, Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Okay. As a background, and I know that all of you have an understanding of why we're here today on this particular issue, the city annexed some property south of Garden City, which is owned by the city. And as a result of annexing that property, the city has an obligation to negotiate a franchise with Wheatland Electric for service of that annexed tract. The Kansas law says that that we have an obligation to negotiate. We have an obligation to consider at least 9 statutory factors as to who should provide electric service to the annexed property. The negotiation process was initiated through conversations between council. Wheatland requested that it be allowed to negotiate a franchise. I, in turn, requested they send me a franchise agreement. We have a draft franchise agreement. It's a shell of an agreement, but at the same time, we do have it, and you have it in your packet of information. I view this process today as part of that negotiation process because the statute requires us to go through an analysis, and before we could render a decision on negotiating a franchise, you certainly have to go through that process. City staff has provided you with a great deal of information, all of which has gone to Wheatland. Wheatland, in turn, has provided you its analysis of the 9 factors, and you have that before you, and certainly city staff has that as well. The city has the final authority by statute as to who provides electric power or service to this annexed property. So that is vested in you as a governing body to decide who will be providing the service. What I would ask you to do, and I think you understand from our discussions previous in meetings, is to consider what's been given to you by the parties. Look at the information that's been provided, look at the documents that have been provided, and then render a decision based upon your analysis of not only the 9 factors, but anything else that you think is relevant. You're not just limited to those 9 factors, but you can also consider issues or factors which you think are in the best interest of the city or its customers or the surrounding area. So at some point in our discussions today, and it's been deemed to be a hearing. It's not so much a hearing in the judicial sense as it is a quasi-judicial determination on your part concerning whether or not a franchise should be granted to Wheatland. And I've indicated to Wheatland's council that it's a discussion, it's a deliberation, and it could be deemed to be a hearing, but it's not in the sense of people testifying. What I envision happening is that Mr. Muirhead, on behalf of the city, will simply give you a history of of what has transpired and why we have reached this particular point. He's not going to be advocating on behalf of the city because we tried to stay away from that. I think to give Wheatland a fair analysis of the situation, we simply provide the information to you and you make a decision at some point based upon what you've been given. So Mr. Muirhead's not going to advocate one position or the other, and I don't think he's given you a recommendation in any of the memorandums he's provided you. After Mr. Muirhead has spoken, I'm going to, or you can afford Mr. Miller or anyone else on behalf of Wheatland to address the governing body. It's an opportunity for Wheatland to comment on any of the information they've given to you. After that, then it's pretty much up to you as far as how you want to proceed, whether you want to have a discussion amongst yourselves, ask questions of Mr. Muirhead, Mr. Miller, or the city's Energy Council, Frank Caro, who's sitting in the front row. So having said that, I would ask at this point if it's okay, Mrs. Dahl, to proceed with Mr. Muirhead addressing the governing body.
Yes, please.
Mayor and Commissioners, good afternoon. My glasses out here, so as Randy indicated, I'm just going to kind of walk through some of the dates and highlight some of the information that's gone back and forth. The governing body purchased this Jameson property. See the map up on the screen. Actually purchased it on January 2nd of 2013. It was annexed into the city bounds on November 12th of 2014. That was done by ordinance number 2674-2014. The property, you probably are aware of where it's at. It's predominantly vacant land that's currently zoned I-3 heavy industrial. It's adjacent to the city's wastewater treatment plant and Jameson Energy Center. On April 1st of 2015, as the city attorney indicated, Wheatland requested a franchise agreement in a letter from Jim McVeigh, that was Wheatland's legal counsel, to provide electric service to the property. The response then from the city attorney was to, we would go through the process. In Mr. McVeigh's first letter, they outlined their position of the 9 factors. And then on April 17th, during this time period, we thought it would be best if a procedural schedule was set so that we all knew the dates to follow and not follow. On April 17th, I emailed Mr. Bruce Miller, the general manager of Wheatland, the proposed schedule so that they were aware of that schedule. And then on April 21st, the governing body approved that procedural schedule for us to follow. And then on April 30th, I sent an analysis of the city's 9 factors to Wheatland, so they would have that. On May 4th, we received a letter back from Wheatland Electric Cooperative saying that they could not respond by May 6th, according to the procedural schedule, but they could probably have something by May 18th. On May 14th, which was the schedule, we hadn't received any additional information, but just as Wheatland indicated they would, we did receive additional information from them on May 18th. And then on the May 19th meeting of the governing body, you agreed to delay any action you may take for 2 weeks until this June 2nd meeting. On May 18th, that includes the additional information that Wheatland sent to us regarding our 9 factors response to them. And all of that information you have been provided, and that's really the basis of how we got here today. So.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Mr. Miller?
Excuse me.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Mayor and Councilman. Appreciate it. Hey, how you doing? Pretty much that was the schedule. I can't contest anything said on that. Well, I think today one of the things you'll be doing is going over the 9 points, the factors or in your considerations. As you know, there is I read in some of the rebuttal from the city that there was potentially some economic development going on that could affect the city, and that might harm the city if Wheatland served the franchise. And again, it's in the county too, so anything that happens in the county helps the city. Anything that happens in the city helps the county. One of the things, and again, I can't talk about this, but there is a large industrial prospect potentially that is coming in. It's a hypothetical, might not happen. But again, if it does, we think that one of their decision on who they want to supply electricity to, and we've been in negotiations with them, should be considered, and that's one of the factors. That's one of the customer factors, their decision. Also, the rates on that. You guys have that potential hypothetical rate analysis in your possession. It's confidential. I can't discuss it. But again, those two factors, if you make that decision today without considering those and the decision of the potential large hypothetical industrial customer, I don't think you're really following the statute, meaning the 9 factors won't be considered. And with that, I'm going to bid you good day. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Commissioners? Any discussion?
My only comment would be that you consider the factors that are applicable to the situation at the time that you consider the franchise request. That would be our position, Mr. Caro. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I would. That's what you have to deal with right now, is what the situation that is in effect right now. Anything hypothetical is just, like Mr. Miller said, it's hypothetical, it may never occur. So you need to make a decision today based on those 9 factors in the statute, and whether they apply, and if they apply, how they apply.
Thank you.
I would like to say that in the city's rebuttal, they did talk about a potential economic development package. Again, it might be more than hypothetical, but again, we can't discuss that, but it's more than potentially hypothetical. So you know what's going on, we know what's going on. Just want to make that clear. So if you delay it, that to me would be more prudent, this decision, but again, it's the commission's will to do whatever you want.
In your consideration of the factors, there isn't any weighting schedule or court decision that says you weigh the different factors, giving more weight to one over the other. You apply the ones that are applicable to the situation. There's no guidance even from the courts, and Frank may have something to add to this, as to how you ultimately decide whether, if 5 factors are in favor of one supplier and 4 in favor of the other, then that first one wins. You're vested with broad statutory authority to make the final decision. And absent acting fraudulently, capriciously, or arbitrarily, your decision is going to be upheld by a court. And certainly I don't want you to act in those manners. I think the way the city has approached it is that we have given you all available information. Wheatland has given you all available information. And as you have gone through that information on your own to prepare for today's meeting, you've looked at those 9 factors and any other factor you think are important. And today, if you can, you'll render a decision based upon the information provided to you.
Thank you.
I think staff has pretty well discussed all these factors and addressed it in this letter, and I don't have any other questions.
I don't have any questions either.
Neither do I.
You know, I don't know whether this is what Mr. Miller intended. You're not obligated in this meeting to go through each of the 9 factors and describe or explain your decision. If you're going to make a decision, then I'd appreciate, and I'm certain Mr. Carroll would too, that your decision is based upon the analysis of one of the parties, so that there's something that we can look back on at some point in the future and say, this is why you made that decision for either Wheatland or the city. The action on the part of the city is one of two motions. Move to grant the franchise request of Wheatland. If that were the motion and it was approved, then we would bring before you at a later meeting a franchise agreement that had been negotiated between the parties, and basically it would just be insertion of a franchise fee by the city and any minor changes to what they provided to us to this date. Or if your motion, or the other motion would be to deny the franchise request.
I'll entertain a motion then if we have no further discussion.
But we need to explain why?
No.
Or on the factors, or no? Okay.
I mean, at some point you may be asked your position on the factors. The way I'm viewing it, your response could be the analysis provided to it is and the conclusions rendered therein are the basis for our decision on granting or denying the franchise.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the request, or not approve the request, and deny the issuance of a franchise agreement to Wheatland Electric Cooperative.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
We'll move on. Item 10B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve bids received for the demolition at 1904 Crestway. Caleb?
You have the complete demoing packet. This is in regards to the house at 1904 Crestway Drive, which was severely damaged as a result of a fire. Insurance proceeds for the fire damage received from the property owner's insurance is $6,426.90. That's in the insurance fund that the city has. On December 2nd, 2014, the City Commission approved an unsafe, unfit, and dangerous structure order for repair and demolition or demolition of the fire damaged structure at 1904 Crestway Drive. The structure was not repaired or demolished in the time frame specified in the approved order. On March 18, 2014, a bid packet was put together and opened to the public for the demolition of the structure. 2 bids were received by the Community Development Department. Due to the high dollar amount of the bids received, both bids were rejected. On May 6, 2014, the second bid packet was put together and opened to the public for demolition of the structure. Only 1 bid was received by the Community Development Department for reconstruction in the amount of $37,200. The alternatives that are available for the commission are: the commission may approve the submitted bid from Lee Construction for $37,200, or the city commission may approve that the Public Works Department remove all accessory structures, attached carport, and remove all dead trees, shrubs, and vegetation, an estimated amount of $12,850. Then rebid the demolition of the main dwelling and all the internal contents to a licensed contractor. Or the city commission may take no action. But based on our previous action already taken, staff recommends approving alternative 1 or 2. The fiscal impact, the fees assessed through code compliance process cover the cost of We cover the cost of the contractors. However, if the violator does not pay the fees, the city covers the cost of the contractor until the fee is collected through either collections or through a lien on the property. In either case, a lien will be placed on the property for the cost of the demolition, and the city would have to pay for the upfront costs. The insurance proceeds would also be used for payment of abatement expenses. And so this is a property that we continue to receive a lot of calls on in regards to it's been a long time, and several in the neighborhood have expressed concerns about the continued property's conditions as it continues to sit there in the neighborhood. So,
Who has the deed to this property?
the bank owns the property.
The bank? Which bank? Gordon, or
Bank
of
of America, I believe, is the owner.
I think that's right.
Deed holder.
We've been in discussions with an attorney that represents a company handling the mortgage on behalf of the bank, and he has been kept with notice on what's going on in the situation. We've asked his input from time to time. Do you have any information to indicate the title has changed from the
No,
bank?
we have not received anything different.
But they won't do the demolition?
They just, no.
That is,
Yeah. They've been working on trying to, I think, sell or deed the property to someone and have not been successful. But they've been put on notice as to what the situation is, and they understand that we may have to take action to raise the property. So as late as maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had information that possibly the property was going to be deeded to a party that had owned it previously. I sent an email and no response, so my instructions are to proceed until somebody tells us otherwise.
Do we have enough manpower to do it in a timely manner based on the fact that it'll take 2 weeks of our employees to do that?
I think as far as the exterior items of things that were listed on there, as far as the accessory structures, the carport, dead tree, shrubs, and vegetation, I think that can be done in a pretty timely fashion, probably within a couple of days to have that done, except the primary structure would probably take more time if we were to do that. And that wasn't included in that cost of the city cost doing it at $12,850. It would be above that to demolish that. But it could be done, it would just take a lot more time. And maybe Sam could answer a question in regards to his manpower and ability to do that.
Yeah, the cost figures I put together for them is just what it's gonna, our labor time. And so that's already built into our budget, so it's there, but they wanted to know how many hours it would take our guys to kind of clean up the exterior. And that's what it is. About 20% of it is what we charge for our equipment when we go out to clean up somebody's property. So that's all in-house stuff.
So I think the question, as I understood it, maybe is what isn't going to get done as a result of us going and doing something that was otherwise bid out?
I don't know if it's going to lower the bid the next time. If we go in there and do the exterior and get it all cleaned up and all they have to do is knock the building down and haul it off, it might lower the cost. There's a lot of trees there that need to be cut out, and that's probably some of
The
the...
real downside is the rebid process adds a bunch more
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
for that
Yeah.
reason,
Yeah.
I'd like to save the money, but for that reason, I would move to approve the bid of Lee Construction for the entire job.
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 11A, the governing bodies asked to consider and approve a master service agreement between the city of Garden City and Revere Healthcare Systems. And Randy's going to present this when he comes back in the room. If you don't mind, Mayor, we'll move on to 11B. Oh, he's here now. Sorry. Here, item 11A, the governing bodies consideration and approval of a master service agreement between the city of Garden City and Revere
Sure.
Healthcare Solutions.
Okay.
You had previously approved this, but Randy can explain why it's back on the agenda.
We had previously approved a master service agreement with RHS April of this year, RHS had some problems filling the position of the nurse practitioner for the clinic, and we had built into the previous agreement a termination date of June 1st of this year if they were not in operation. There was no way they were going to be in operation, but we still wanted to pursue the opportunity of a clinic. So we entered in some additional negotiations with RHS. In exchange for a little higher per month fee, we negotiated more hours per week for the clinic. And RHS has procured the services of a nurse practitioner and also an administrative assistant so that the clinic can open about the middle of this month. So what I'm asking you to do is approve the master service agreement, which is dated today. It's been signed by RHS. I outlined in the memo the changes in the terms.
It went up, what, 4,000?
$4,000 a month.
And what was the reason?
And there's increased hours that they'll be open.
Increased hours, RHS found its operational cost to be higher than what they had expected. But, you know, if that were the case and they wanted to change the terms, we simply could have said, well, we have an agreement, it's going to terminate on June 1st and we'll go out for proposals. But we thought with the option of terminating the agreement early after the first interim period in 1 year, we still have the flexibility of seeking proposals in about a year and a half.
And they are going to reimburse us for our
That is
part of it?
That was negotiated in the rate reduction, the fee reduction. Approximately $80,000 that the city had paid WINS. We're recouping that in reduced per month fees. In theory, I mean, they set the fee. We didn't agree with it. We said we want some credit for what we paid. RHS doesn't have any legal obligation to be responsible for any monies owed by WINS. WINS is in bankruptcy. So I think it was a pretty good result on behalf of the city that we got some credit for what we paid and then that was lost.
And it's a nice service for city employees.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it saves us money.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement with RHS master service agreement.
I'll second. There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 11B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a voice over internet phone service system for all city departments. And Jennifer Cunningham will present this item.
Good afternoon. This is a project that has been being developed for quite some time. As I won't read my entire memo to you, as I'm sure you guys can all read. But this is a project that I'm sure you heard something about in the past when it was going to be a joint venture with the county. At one point, the city and the county together went in and bought 50 phones, 25 to the city, 25 to the county, and we were going to proceed in the project in that manner. At some point in time, the previous IT director made the determination that the city was not going to proceed with that joint venture project and sold those 25 phones to the county, and the county moved forward with that project. They started the project a little over a year ago, and they made the determination to go on a 5-year plan for that project. In speaking with them before I started working with the IT department, I determined that that was not a feasible arrangement. It creates a situation where those that are implemented and those that are not cannot coexist with each other. They don't have a directory, they don't share a directory, they don't have phone lines that tie to one another. You can't dial the last 3 digits of the phone number and get somebody in another department. Whereas if everybody was on the same, the other issue that I saw with it was that technology changes so quickly. From the time they began last year to the end of their 5-year program, I don't know what the phones are going to look like, and they don't either. So they only buy for each department, which is one of the reasons why I didn't want to go down that road. The other is that I wanted to ensure that the city all got everyone in the city got to keep their same phone number, so that the citizens in trying to contact people in the city weren't trying to learn new phone numbers. They could keep their existing numbers. So that was really important to us as well. So we did a lot of research and development on this. The entire IT department did. And we came up with what's before you today. And I'll just briefly go over that. I broke it into a couple of alternatives. The first being that you authorize CNP Technologies to do the entire project for the entire city. And that is at a cost of the $125,558.24. This incorporates all the training, all the hardware, all the software. This is training for city employees and also for the city IT department so that they can run the system once this is all said and done. They can move phones, adjust phones, add phones, do whatever needs to be done once it's all put in place. The second alternative would be to do it in phase 1 and phase 2 and determine what the city thinks after implementing phase 1. The phase 1 is the biggest cost because that is the administrative building here and the electrical wastewater. And the reason being is that since the electric department is building a new building, they're going to have new phones. And so part of this project came in discussions with them doing that project. And so the $80,000 would be this building and everything for their project. And then the phase 2 would just be the $45,558.24. Now, the problem with that is the issues that might come up, the disconnect between the phases. So if we didn't implement them close in proximity to one another, there would be a disconnect for a period of time that we hadn't done phase 2. And then the third option would be to delay this authorization and continue looking into other options. We have looked and looked and looked. This product is superior to anything else we've seen. They are the top of the line phones, and Market ShoreTel is the Typo phone, and they actually are the ones who distribute to most other companies who are doing voice over phones, and they just put a different sticker on it depending on who the company it's coming from. So, and then the number 4 is that you just deny it altogether. The IT's recommendation is that you guys accept alternative number 1. Down in the fiscal note, obviously it's a big cost up front. I've worked with Melinda on securing financing through Commerce Bank. And with that, there would be 3 equal installments that had to be paid. The first payment would be made in 2015, and that would be by the service center expansion. The next 2 payments would be made out of the IT department, or the general fund IT budget, and those are the $42,808.49 that you see up there, and the rate is included also. The other piece of this is that currently for phone service alone, the city's paying $7,400 a month. And this is going to actually cut us back to about $4,000 a month in actual phone cost. So we will see a savings in that piece of it, even though we're expending this up front. And we're getting a far superior product to what we have now. There's several people in the city who don't even have voicemail, which at this point in time is incredible. So it will offer a lot of things that we don't have. Internal directories, you'll be able to type in someone's name and pull them up. You'll be able to provide that information to citizens a lot quicker. We won't have fax machines, they'll be going to email. Your voicemails will actually go to email. It will provide a lot of benefits to city employees and also to the citizens.
So
But they keep the
new
same.
phones,
Go ahead.
new phones, no long distance charges?
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct,
With
'cause
this
it's over the internet.
Voice over the internet?
Exactly.
So we said, I don't know, what do we spend on long distance in a year?
That I'm not exactly sure. I would have to pull that for you. That's included in that $7,400 a month that we're paying.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
So they keep the same, you're saying they keep the same phone number, so the
They
phone
will
numbers
keep
will not change?
exactly, which was
Okay.
very important in our development of this project. We did not want to have to change our phone numbers.
That's good. I make a motion to authorize the CNP Technologies LLC to provide the price, or the voice over internet phone system for the entire city.
I'll second.
that alternative one?
Yes, alternative one.
Okay,
Or, yeah, the first one.
right.
There's been a motion and a second. All those, or any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Item 10C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a waiver ordinance prohibiting the discharge of fireworks within the corporate limits of the city from June 7th, 2015 to July 5th, 2015 between the hours of 10:30 a.m. and 10:30 p.m. The city commission took this matter up as a policy item at the last meeting, providing the direction that would be necessary for the written waiver to ordinance. This is the product of the majority vote of the commission at the previous meeting, which reflects alternative one in the memo that was provided, or the memo provided to you by the city clerk.
I have received complaints regarding
The length?
the length and concerns that in the past, they've gone past 10:30, well in past midnight, and concerned that they'll have 10 days of this going.
That's what I thought. Too. It's,
That's
I
pretty
think
long.
it's too long. I mean, you could make it 2 days and they'd still probably break the rule, but, you gotta put a little bit of responsibility on the parents.
Well, some of them are adults.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with my colleagues, but going back to the basic point of why I made the motion for the 27th through the 5th of July is because it coincides with the days of sales that will be going on in the county. And I'm not convinced that, if some kid's got $5 in his pocket and he wants to get fireworks on the 27th, he's gonna go out there and get some and shoot them. That's not gonna stop that. They're gonna shoot, police officers are gonna have a rough time enforcing because a citizen can call in and say that there's someone shooting in my neighborhood, and the police officer goes out there, they can't identify where it come from, or if it occurred from a neighbor. Most cases, the person that calls refuses to sign a complaint. If the officer does not see that individual shoot that fireworks, he cannot issue a complaint. It has to be that neighbor that called it in to sign the complaint. So we end up with a problem for the police department to enforce this thing. Now, and it would be the same thing after 10:30 at night. We've got to ask people to abide by the times of shooting and going from there. But we have this issue every year, and what I would like to see is this is on the plate now. But every year we come up with this and we sign this thing and we continue to go on. We just kick the can down. We meet 24 times a year. I'd like to see us have a pre-meeting to where we all could sit down and openly discuss this, invite the PD, invite the county, whatever, and see if we can't come up with some sort of a solution that will meet everybody's needs. What I would like to see is the county has the authority to grant people to sell them in the county. They also have the authority to limit the number of days they sell. And if we could reduce those days down to the days that we wanted to shoot, then we wouldn't be shooting at the 27th. We could start shooting on the day of sales on the 2nd of July. But we've got to sit down and do it, or we're going to be just kicking this baby all over again. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve number 1, and in hopes that we can set a time, not next June, but sometime this fall, to sit down and discuss this.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Anybody wanna?
Yeah, any comments from the public? Sorry.
I think we had the one
Okay.
earlier.
Yeah.
but-
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion carried.
Item 11D, city staff requests governing body consideration and authorization to select a consulting engineering firm which would provide some street design guidelines, including road diets, roundabouts, circles, bump outs, crosswalks, bicycle lanes, etc. I'll let Sam present this item.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. This issue came about after the Finney County Health Community Design Summit. Mark Fenton came to town and brought in some ideas about complete streets. And so we talked at your 15th meeting and asked authorization to put together some RFQs to hire a consultant to look at some complete street guidelines. Those would involve the road diets and roundabouts. That's one of the areas that the current staff really doesn't have a lot of experience in. So if we're going to look at road diets, roundabouts, we feel like a consultant was a better way to go. They'd also look into circles, bump outs, kind of give us some better guidance on when a crosswalk should be established and when it shouldn't be established, and also include the bicycle lanes and try to improve the walkability in our community. So we put together a selection committee made up from the mayor, Craig Fisher from planning, and myself. And we went through 3 consultants. One is Earls Engineering in Liberal, Wilson & Company in Salina, and PEC in Wichita. The areas that we're going to be looking at is called a segment capacity analysis. That is where they're going to analyze our 4-lane roads to see if any of those can be dieted to a 3-lane road. That would be Fulton between Main and Campus, Campus between Fulton and Mary, Mary Street from Taylor to the bypass, and Jenny Barker between Highway 50 to Shulman. Those are the areas that we want to look at. We felt that was some high growth areas, and also we have some issues in those 3 segments that we have schools, colleges that we need to improve some crossability for the students, you might say. This would also include some diagrams when they get done on pavement markings, if that's what the analysis showed. The other thing that we were going to look at is if we can improve some of the intersections that we think in the future may cause us some problems. Some of them are controlled by traffic signals right now, some of them are not. Some of them may be candidates for roundabouts, some of them might not be. And they'll also look at our timings for the traffic signals to see if they can improve the timings and improve some situations. But we have a few areas, especially in the new retail area, that we think in the future is going to cause some issues, and we want to be ahead of the curve on that. So the committee went through on May 21st and 26th and interviewed the 3 consultants, and our alternatives would be to hire PEC is our first one. So that would be alternative 1 to move forward with our selection and hire PEC. The second one, I kind of miswrote that a little bit, but we would ask if that's not what you want and you want to redirect the staff to go in a different direction, you have that alternative. And the last alternative that you can defer this action to a later date.
What is the cost?
Well, that's something that we'll have to negotiate with them. We hope that it's going to be somewhere around 50 or less, 50,000 or less to do that. One thing that we don't have in Garden City, the last comprehensive transportation study that we're operating under right now is dated 1992. I would say that our community has changed since 92, and the one before that was 1976. So we're using both of those, what I call outdated comprehensive transportation plans. This is kind of the first attempt to see how this works, see if the guidelines fit our community, try to get some public education going. And then our next step would be to try to do a full-blown comprehensive transportation plan for the whole community. So this is our first step to try to move towards that comprehensive transportation plan as well.
This work product would be usable in a larger study? So that wouldn't, a lot of it wouldn't get duplicated in that study? That would be the thought, or?
Yes. And also, we have some issues around some high generators for pedestrians, like the hospital and some of that. And we're hoping these guidelines will also help staff to maybe be ahead of the curve and help some of these other locations. But we would also try to introduce those into the transportation plan. So.
But we're also making it look more of a walkable community. That's kind of the direction we're going. I mean, more walk-friendly type thing.
Yeah,
multimodal. That's what I was looking for.
So we're trying to include everything in there. One thing that I'd like to see us look at is our residential streets. And of course, the thing that Matt talked about over on Bellevue, we put some complete street designs into it. We narrowed the road down to make it uncomfortable, tried to slow the speeds down so it's better for pedestrians. So this can lead us that direction, I hope.
How about backing into stalls on land? You gonna look at that?
We're still going to look into it. We're going to try it out. Hopefully this summer.
Steve said he'd try it first.
Yeah, we're hoping to get. We're trying to get the contractor in here by the end of June to finish the Main Street project, and we're going to do some experimenting on Main Street on backing in. So.
Volunteers are welcome.
I make a motion that we approve the agreement with Professional Engineering Consultants on the alternative one.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Any further discussion?
So we're approving to move forward with negotiating an agreement,
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
Right.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item 11E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a 5-year contract with HD Supply for upgrades to the city's existing FlexNet metering system, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the contract. And I'll invite Mike Muirhead up to present this item.
Mayor and Commissioners, good afternoon again. What we're bringing for you today is a consideration of a 5-year contract between the City of Garden City and HD Supply. The purpose of this is, back up a little bit, in 2009 and 2010, the city installed a net metering system, for lack of other terms, an automated meter reading system where all of our electric and water meters are read remotely. We go in and get information from them at any given time, and it sends us back, sends the information here. We use that for billing purposes. Since that time, obviously, the software is upgraded multiple times over. We've installed some of it we've chosen not to. The biggest change with this contract that we're asking you to consider is right now we store all that data on servers downstairs in the IT department. And while it works fairly well. But when the servers fail, we lose all that data, and then it shuts down the utility billing system for a couple of days. That's occurred twice in the last 3 years. We've spent quite a bit of money on getting the servers back up, and IT's been very responsive to helping us get that going. But the biggest change here is we now would start using a cloud-based service where all of our data will be stored completely off-site in another facility somewhere. That data is always available to us. There's no restrictions on how much data we can have. And visiting with IT staff and utility billing staff, we were all pretty excited about being able to bring this to you for consideration to move forward with it. The actual cost of this 5-year upgrade costs $54,000 should you approve it today. That gets all of the software in place, the the first year of our cloud storage, and then the following years thereafter, you can see it's right around $40,000 a year for that service. So there is funding in the electric budget to pay for that this year, and we would budget for it, or maybe 4 years after that, should you approve it today. And it's our recommendation that you approve that 5-year contract.
We surely back that stuff up, don't we?
We do. There's a server for it, and then there's actually now, since this became a problem, there's actually a backup server for the backup server, so that it hopefully doesn't happen again. But that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. And the 2 times that it did in fact happen, it was down for 4 days each time, I believe. And the problem that they ran into was that everything had to be done manually, and then we were that far behind in all of the meter readings across the city. So I think what Mike's asking is to not have that happen. And we can't 100% ensure that it's not going to happen, but we have since then have a backup to the backup so that hopefully it doesn't happen.
What it caused us to do was we had to estimate bills for those 4 days that we normally would bill out. And the issue with the servers failing, my understanding of it, and I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, is there's no forewarning that that's about to occur. You don't get like a, oh my gosh, turn this thing down a little bit. It was working one day and the next day it was not. So. Thanks.
That's correct.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 5-year contract with HD Supply.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item 11F, I'd invite Executive Director of Downtown Vision, Nicole Lucas, and anybody else that she wants to bring forward to go over their quarterly report.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. In your packet, you should have the quarterly report for the first quarter. If you don't have that and you want to let me know, we'll get it to you. Considering that this is June, and so we're almost, over halfway through the second quarter, I'm going to do our quarterly report for the first quarter and then some. So, as far as new businesses for this year, we've had 2 downtown. AJ's Graphics, they opened March 1st. And Janet Smaltz bought Inked Graphics and relocated Inked Graphics downtown and then renamed it AJ's Graphics. So they are located next to what used to be Parks Garage. And they're on Main Street. And we also have Bowman's Logo Stitching, which opened on May 1st, and they are in the former Finley's location. Obviously, we continue to promote both our IWW loan programs and the Jumpstart Business Developer, which you guys helped fund last year. We are still currently working with our one prospect on that, and that is proving to be a long process. But they are still obviously interested in the program, and so we're still continuing to work with them. As far as our IWWs, we awarded an IWW last month for business expansion in the downtown district. Our Shop Small Saturdays with the retailers are continuing to be very successful. They all tend to be liking that. It's not anything out of the ordinary. They don't have to be open any extra hours, and so they just offer like a one-time only special on that Saturday, and it's every month on the 3rd Saturday. Starting in June, we will be having the Downtown's Farmers Market in Stevens Park again this year. And they will be every Thursday evening from 5 to 8 p.m. and it will run June 18th to October 8th this year. As far as our committee work, our promotions committee has kind of gotten back up and running. They've been doing quite a bit of work lately. They are currently working on sidewalk sale events, which if you've been watching Facebook, we've kind of beefed that up this year quite a bit. They're going to be having food trucks. It's going to be called the Downtown Showdown on Heroes Way. We will also be doing a sidewalk chalk contest. We're partnering with GC Arts on that. There will be a People's Choice Award that will be awarded at the end of that as well. There are 3 categories: professional, amateur, and I think children. So they're really having fun with that. And we'll also be doing a free watermelon feed in Kepps Park on Granite Avenue. That will be obviously free to the public, and it will be at 2 o'clock on Saturday, August 1st. As far as our banner art walk, we continue with that. It tends to be kind of we've done it enough, it kind of tends to run itself. We know what we need to do. This year we are changing up the actual preview reception a bit this year. We're going to bring it back downtown. However, but we're going to incorporate it in with the Shop Small Saturday events to try to help bring some traffic and promote our businesses at the same time. So the banners will be previewed in the actual stores themselves. So anyone who wants to have a banner in their store can let us know and we'll get it to them. And so the reception will run from 4 to 6 p.m. that afternoon on Saturday. As far as our economic restructuring committee, they've been pretty busy lately. I have to say, as always, we appreciate the support of the city and definitely the city staff and employees, but I especially have to thank Caleb and Harold with the planning department. They have been an enormous help to us lately. I'm sure he probably hates when it's me emailing or calling. But they are right now working on some concepts to entice the development in the downtown district. They are hope to unveil this soon, and then hopefully in the next couple of weeks to months. So be looking forward to that. Our design committee has bitten off a big project. We're going to try to come forward with some ideas and suggestions on Heroes Way, and that project we kind of tends to we talk about and then we put it away and then we bring it back. But they're hoping to submit something this year for the CIP process. So we're kind of prodding them along on that. So hopefully you guys will see some suggestions come from that. Do you guys have any questions?
When's the restaurant going to be open?
That is a great question. He keeps telling us the first of the month, but he doesn't say what month, so.
It's got to be getting
I think it
close.
is too. I mean, it's pretty good.
Looks nice.
Yes, it looks really impressive.
Mhm.
It's gonna be great.
I think it will be nice. It will be great to have another place to eat downtown.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Good
thank
job.
you.
Good job.
During Commissioners, item 11G is a review of the proposed budget. We have a list of funds that we're scheduled to go over today, so I'll invite Belinda to come up. We'll focus on 55, 56, 25, 40, 60, and 61. And that will hit some of our taxing funds, and then we'll start with our final taxing fund and get about halfway through it. And that's the general fund.
There's a little change from the budget calendar on what we're reviewing today. We were supposed to have our audit report, we thought, but it'll be on June 16th. So I added a few extra funds in on today to keep us ahead of the ballgame here. Okay.
And to have us home by dinner over the next week.
Yeah.
Okay, has everybody got to their, we're going to start out with the health insurance fund, Fund 55. We carried over $324,738 into 2015. As you can see, we have 3 types of revenue in here: our retiree health insurance premiums, the transfer from city departments for the city's share of the health insurance premium. Both years, that is $820 per employee for 2015 and 2016. And then the employee contributions are based on what type of insurance they sign up for, whether or not they're in the wellness program. They have several choices there, but it doesn't look like in our revenue stream here that we're proposing any type of increase in that type of funding. There may be a little switch in how much we make them pay, but it won't add up to any more. So the revenue for 2015 is $3,732,262 and $3,765,600 for 2016. Coming down through the expenses, the very first one, that administrative fee, that is my cash carryover going into 2017. I'm budgeting the full fund, so that amount there should be the amount of cash that we can carry over into 2017. The rest of the expenses deal with the health insurance premium. For 2015, for the city employees paid to Blue Cross, $3,115,000. Looking at like a 13% increase going to 2016 at $3,520,000. We also have drug testing costs that go on, employee assistant program costs. We are budgeting for the clinic for this year and next year, $315,500 this year. And then we also have the clinic expenses for janitorial, for rent, telephone, and utilities. I'm not proposing any transfer to the health insurance reserve either year. So at the end of 2015, we're looking at expenses of $3,498,000 with a carryover of $559,000 going into 2016, and then we're budgeting the full fund in 2016 of $4,324,600 for the health insurance fund. Is there any questions there? Fund 56 is the health insurance fund. In 2014, we were able to transfer into this reserve, which we had not had a cash balance in here for a few years, of $880,489. We still have claims payments that we need to pay from our self-insurance program, so those would come out of this fund here, but they should be all paid by the end of June of this year. They only have 18 months. So that should be completed by the end of June. So you do have a reserve here that you can use in future years should your health insurance premiums go way out of whack compared to what we can afford. You can actually look back at this fund.
Okay.
So it's nice to have that reserve in place. That's exactly right. Yeah. So that takes care of all of the funds before we start our taxing funds. So we've made quite a bit of progress getting through all the utilities and special revenue funds. And so the first taxing fund that you have here is recreation. We have a 5 mil requirement, or 5 mils that we levy for the Recreation Commission. Last year, or for 2015, that's $845,000 in ad valorem tax. I'm looking at possibly our assessed valuation being right around 180,000. It was 175,000 last year, so looking at a little bit of an increase. So that's what I'm basing these mill levy figures off of currently. When we do receive that, I will have to come back in and revise these numbers. The motor vehicle numbers are good numbers that are in here. They're allocated based on mill levy from 2014. So the rec commission is getting $109,548 in motor vehicle in 2016, and then a couple other recreational and heavy duty. So 2015 revenues coming in from taxes and motor vehicle is $961,350. We plan on paying all that to them in 2015, and then we're looking at $1,010,750 in 2016. Now, this is not all of the Recreation Commission. You are also obligated to fund their employee benefit fund. You will be seeing that in our general fund discussion next time on the 16th. In 2016, our expense was $300,000 for that, and for 2015 it was $300,000. For 2016, they're requesting $325,000. So when you take a total look at the Recreation Commission, you need to add that in of what you pay to them. We also fund their swimming pool lifeguards through the general fund, and that's right around $160,000 both years. So, like I say, once the final valuation was done for 15, the mill levy was 4.881. Our valuation came in a little higher in November from the estimate they gave us in July. And 2016, we're budgeting 5 mills at $180,000. Any questions on Rec Commission? John couldn't be here today. He's down doing some maintenance at the pool, but.
Are there any other entities that fund the rec, or are we it?
We're it.
Well, their fees.
Well, yeah, there's
that.
fees, yeah, that they pay for.
That probably doesn't help too much. Break even.
We'll be seeing their audit. We can probably look into that more on the 16th, see how their fees compare to their taxes. The bond and interest fund is next. We got a little bit of a surprise on this fund here this year, so I'm kind of I was kind of excited last week to check into some of these things. We carried over $521,037 into 15. We get a PFC allocation from the airport. That's your passenger cost allocation, because we have some debt that we issued for the airport. So we get 50% here, and then we have 50% in the airport fund. So we're budgeting $48,000 this year, $55,000 next year. The ad valorem tax and the motor vehicle taxes, those are all, the motor vehicle taxes are the actual numbers. The special assessment number is what I want to talk to you about, 3060. We budgeted $200,000 in 2015 for that line item. When we got our distribution in March, the number for special assessments added up to quite a bit more than what we had turned over to the county clerk to put on the tax bill. So in researching this with Raylene Dick last week, there was a tax sale last year. They had 130 properties that they had on the tax roll for tax sale. 100 of them sold last year, and they have 30 left to sell. But a major portion of those 100 properties that were sold had old special assessments on them. And in order to purchase that property, you have to pay all of the taxes. You may not have to pay anything for the real estate, but you do have to pay all the property taxes and all the special assessments.
So we got that.
So we have an additional $380,000 here in revenue for special assessments. This is a one-time revenue. They hadn't had a tax sale in 10 years. They hope to start having one every year now, moving forward. So this is an accumulation, and most of this is from Spruce Street widening that we did years and years ago. When we first did that, we totally deferred the specials because there wasn't anybody building on that property. So when we built it, we didn't get any money in specials. 10 years later, we put it on the tax rolls because there was some houses being built out, south of Spruce Street and on out. But then there was still a lot of vacant property. And so recently you've had quite a bit of development on that road. And some of that was purchased in that tax sale, so that's how that money came about. So you think you have 380 here, but when we come down into the expenses, when we budgeted for our interest and principal in 2015, we have some changes. We had a bond issue that we added a project to when we did our final bond issue. So we have about $100,000 there extra in expense than we had planned on. So you have roughly 280 to the good, which is nice to have. So then coming into 2016, we're showing $649,500 cash coming into the fund. We've got our motor vehicle and our ad valorem tax. What I funded for the expenses, I think you remember you had your bond memo from Steve, and we had a bunch of projects in there that we were looking at and thinking, we're going to need to probably bond those. But when we got to working on the airport fund, we were able to, here's this memo here. It's in the first part of your book if you want to refer back to it, or you can, for 2015, we were going to bond Kansas Avenue at $506,000. We were needing money for the Garden City Regional Airport project, AIP Project 36 at $136,900. We had $500,000 for a convention center location study and $2 million for an indoor shooting range. Some of those projects got moved around. Basically, we're looking at the fire station now, the addition to the fire station, because you've hired an architect to get the plans done on that. But those plans won't be done until basically fall, late fall. So you may not even bid that until later on in the year, or even the first part of next year. So that could throw that project into a bond next year with the first payment being in 2017. So what we are funding here in the bond and interest fund is just the Kansas Avenue project in the bond issue. We were able to, when we look at the airport fund here in a little bit, the revenues are coming in very well, so she was able to fund the AIP project out of her fund, and so that's where we're sitting. So it's not like any of these projects went away, it's just that they're gonna be bonded at a later date with a payment being in 2017. So
You got the mill levy for 16 dropping.
it's down a mill, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. You like that?
I like that.
Okay.
Real.
That is one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
It's a big piece.
Like a good inning in baseball.
Yeah.
So then what we're budgeting then in 2016 for, in our expenses is the principal payment that we currently have with all of our other projects on this debt schedule, plus the new one that we're having for Kansas Avenue. Now, we can always come back and change this, but that's how it's being presented to you today. Any questions? Okay, so we'll move on. So based on 180,000 for assessed valuation, like I say, last year we were at 8.989 for a mill levy, and we're looking at 7.989 for 2016. Okay, then we're into airport. And Michelle's here to help me with any questions they may have. And there's a lot going on in this fund this year too, so it was kind of exciting to work on. We carried over $521,677 into 2015. I want you to know right off the bat, that includes the KAAP funding, Kansas.
Affordable Airfare.
Yes. That includes the $250,000 that we got from them last year, plus the 83 that the city had to put in. So that's in this cash balance. So we had to end up budgeting for that expense later on. But I want you to know that is a fairly large cash balance for the airport fund, but we're just waiting on a project to use that money for. So then we've got the ad valorem tax that goes in from the airport to the airport, motor vehicle taxes. I've included a couple of schedules for you after the expenses that shows you their annual lease payments. So if you have any questions as to where this revenue is coming from, you can see the hangar rent leases, the office rental, and then we have commissions at the flight deck. So there's several areas of revenue here that we're receiving from the facilities that we own. We're budgeting $250,000 in miscellaneous revenue for the new money that we're getting from the Department of Commerce. That was just recently awarded. So that brings your revenue in 2015 to $1,481,573, total available $2,003,250. We hope that money is still available in 2016, so we went ahead and budgeted for it. So anyway, there's your revenues for the airport. Is there any questions as to any of those items?
What's the deal with the money from the Department of Commerce?
They're funding that to the city of Garden City in hopes that we will find a project that will enhance our airfare service in and out of Garden City.
And the money, while we do some reporting to the Department of Commerce, is actually statutorily transferred to us. It once was a Department of Commerce administered program. They utilized the REAP, which was that Wichita Council of Governments set up. When Michelle initially accessed that money, she went and made a proposal to them. And you can update us on where that, the report that we just sent back and when we find out if the 2016 money comes in and all that good stuff.
Right, so we just got funding for 2015 and finalized the report for 2014. 2016 is earmarked for the city of Garden City to receive, and what we're doing with that funding is basically essentially building a enticing package to try to have a new airline come in to provide additional service or provide expanded service with our current airline. So we've been working on several projects that have not actually worked out for us, but with the larger pot of money to work with, we think we can be a little bit more successful.
Okay, so that's the revenues for the airport. Now we can go into the expenses. We have 6 employees at the airport, and she's not proposing any changes. She's just proposing moving around from one area to another. So you've got the salaries for the 6, the employee benefits, advertising. We do a lot of advertising on the airport, and it has paid off in our employments. So you're seeing $30,000 in advertising this year, $32,500 next year. The tower service is one of the larger expense items, $60,000 this year, and we budgeted $72,000 for 16. Janitorial service to take care of the terminal, all the office buildings. Repair buildings, that's mainly for the hangars, and repair equipment. The next page in expenses. Utilities, electric is one of the larger line items there, $128,000 this year, $130,000 next year. And then we come down into airport improvement, $202,900. The $202,900, we've got also the detailed items back here for you too. Is in 2016, that is going to be $40,000. No, in 2015, I need to get to there first. 2015, there's terminal renovations of $66,000 in that line item, $202,900. And the balance of that is the $136,900 that she needs for the city's matching share for AIP 36. The next line item is that Kansas Affordable Airfares funding, and it's $666,667. So that's 2 years from the state at $250 apiece, so there's $500,000, and 2 years from the city at $83,333. So that's a good pot of money that Rochelle can go out and market for additional services for the airport. And that money is in the bank. I mean, it's ready to spend.
From a accounting standpoint, reporting back to Congress, and from a just your planning standpoint, if we weren't to find another commercial air service option that we use this money to pay for, we would have an obligation to send the state's money back to the state, but we would also be able to free up the portion that we had put in as well. So we can't, while we show it in the airport fund, it's important that we separately account for it and keep track of the expenses over the years that are things that it's used for. Much like other grant programs, and Rochelle understands those really well since most of her world is grant money.
Are you talking to anybody actively now?
We always are.
Are they listening?
They are listening. It's very complicated with the industry right now. It's kind of more constricting. It has been in the past, and now it's slowly starting to expand. So it's kind of going through some growing pains. So as soon as we get all the way through there, the industry in general will be in a growth period, and I think that's when we'll definitely be in a position to keep and possibly attract somebody new or expand current service.
And then if we get the money next year, that line item, has the city share in it plus the $250. The airport improvement in 2016, that amount, the $180,000, that's going to take care of the terminal doors at $40,000. It's also gonna take care of the master plan for landslide and airside, 20,000. A generator for the terminal, 40,000. Weather equipment at 30. And then she needed, what was your AIP project amount? Oh, you needed 50,000 for city match for your AIP project in 16. So all of that is in the 180,000 there. So we're not issuing any debt for any airport projects here in the next 2 years. As far as the equipment goes, the 52.5 in 2015 is 3,500 for a Bobcat lease and 36.5 for a pickup truck. And then we also have some funds that we would like to use to get the internet service to the airport through a laser that we've funded in this line item. Yeah.
Somebody else's department around.
Isn't it a laser?
Yes. It's what the county's currently.
Yeah.
It's what the county's currently using to go from the county admin building to the EMS in Holcomb. It's actually, what they're using is a little bit of a slower speed. They're using 30 MB and we're gonna use 100 to go to the airport. So it will really help them. They face a lot of issues with just basic city programs, such as the payroll and purchase order program. Anything that runs over the internet, they basically have a problem using because their internet is so slow. I think they have up and down speeds of like 1.5 right now. So to get them to 100 would totally change their daily operations. And I think we're going to be able to do it fairly reasonably. So we're working on that right now.
What? Well, what about Buffalo Dunes?
The way that the train is set up, they're actually not able to do it to Buffalo Dunes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But we
We're
do
doing
have
a
the
different
hardware.
method.
Yeah.
So we've
Doing it the
got
hard way.
cable.
Yeah,
we're doing it the hard way.
Yeah.
We have a different process to get to Buffalo Dunes. We did have them try and do the same thing to go to Buffalo Dunes, but it wasn't because of the hills and
Hills.
they would have to explain it all to you, but
Yeah.
it doesn't work going there, but it works going to the airport.
And then let's see, the equipment then in 2016, we've got 30,000 and that is for a 20-inch mower deck. 20 foot.
Yeah, I was gonna say. 20 foot.
That would be pretty small.
That's
We have a lot of
like
racks.
that's like a
It's
10.
small right now.
That's what I use in my yard, 20 inch.
It take them all 5 years to fit with a 20 inch.
Yeah.
30%, you gotta go or approve.
I'll agree to 20 inch.
So when will you get the new internet capabilities? When do you anticipate that?
They are actually working on it right now, so hopefully I think they said by the end of August. So hopefully fairly quick. And it could be sooner if they get everything in place before then, but that's what we're shooting for.
So we have free Wi-Fi out there for,
We do right now, currently. It's just really slow.
so,
It will be much better once this is in place. It will be like if you were at a hotel.
Okay, so let's see. And then we're budgeting a cash carryover to 2017 of 150. So that's if you spend all that money in the grant monies and all that. So, but anyway, that budget, it ended up, did you see that mill levy?
yeah.
No.
And the assumption in that mill levy for valuation is that, does it represent any growth in?
It represents
2%?
5,000. We went from 175 to 180. Yeah. that's-
So about
yeah.
2.5%? And we'll know, obviously, that story will unfold in about 30 days.
Yeah, so this will be revisited also. But it's, at this point, it's looking good. Okay, so then, that takes us to the airport improvement, Fund 61. Like I said earlier, we have funded the grant city share, that 3050, out of the airport budget. This takes care of AIP 36. You want to tell them what that project is?
That is the design of the taxiway F, or Foxtrot, and that goes to the end of their crosswind runway to eliminate some safety issues of back taxiing aircraft.
And then what about the AIP project in 2016?
AIP 37 is the construction of that taxiway, which we're just recently accepted bids, and we're working on some contract issues that you'll approve in the consent agenda. So looking for a late summer start date on that.
Is this on track with the master plan, or is it a little bit
Yes.
ahead?
It's a little bit ahead just because we've had some shifting of projects, but it is identified as a project in the master plan.
How long will it take to construct?
It's 210 days.
And how long is that going to shut down the airport, or at least 17?
Yeah,
Or
there will
1230.
be a closure of the main runway, actually
Even the main runway?
the whole facility for overnight, because there's some markings on the runway that are in the runway safety area, that you cannot have construction in the runway safety area and have that runway open. So we have to close down the facility overnight. So we're gonna work around our late evening flight.
Yeah, it's going to affect the late.
Yeah, we'll have to, we can coordinate prior permission requests with our air ambulance facilities, or since it's only paint, we're not gonna be disturbing ground, we're not gonna have debris out there, it's just paint, so we can authorize them to come in as long as they give us a heads up so we can clear that equipment. Other than that, there won't be any closures to the main runway. The crosswind taxiway will be closed for a period of different periods throughout the project, depending where they're working in the safety area, but that shouldn't impact operations too much. So.
Any other questions on airport? Good job.
Keep working on that next term.
Chicago.
Okay, so now we're going to start in with the general fund. We're going to get through quite a few of the departments here today. Next meeting on the 16th, we'll finish up with the zoo, fire, cemetery, and capital improvement, along with the revenues of the general fund, and then we will be able to start talking what your thoughts are for the 2016 budget. After you see all of the departments' information, I think you can probably make some decisions at that point. Starting out with the general fund, the city commission. Of course, we have the salaries, benefits. We are proposing purchase of some new iPads over the course of a couple of years here. I think yours are fairly the original ones. And then the city clerk and the IT department would like to propose a meeting management software that could be used for various things for your city commission meetings. Whoever would like to talk about that? It's something they've been researching here.
Good afternoon again. This is a project that started initially based upon needing to house the recordings of city commission meetings and needing to house them in a fashion that they can be retrieved. Currently, the IT department stores about 6 months to a year worth of those city commission meetings, but it would be ideal that the city manager or the city attorney or whoever needs to review those, if something happened in a meeting, it would be ideal that they could go to Sealyn or Ashley and say, I need the city commission meeting from June 2nd, and they could readily pull that up. That's not the way that it's done now. We basically just save them on our server and that's it. And then you have to go back and watch each one to find the one you're looking for. It's not very convenient, and it's also not the best use of our product, the city commission meeting. So that's initially what we went looking for, was a product that could house an unlimited number of city commission meetings, would store the ones that we have currently saved, and then all the ones going forward. In doing that, and in those discussions, Sealyn and Rose from the IT department, I demoed 3 different software products, and they actually took a trip to Topeka. to look at the one that's being presented to you today. The reason being is out of the demos, that was the one they felt was the easiest to use and would provide the most benefit from the program. The program that's before you today includes also preparation of agenda, the agenda meeting, and allows for those that submit things to the agenda to submit them, and then it puts it into a specific format and allows Seelan to create her agenda that comes before all of you. And it also houses those along with the meetings in the same location. They're indexed together. So that's what's before you in her budget for the the first year it's $9,450, and that includes a $1,500 fee for the training and implementation at the beginning. But then after that, that $1,500 would come out, and it would be $7,950, I think is what it works out to be. And there's no contract required with them. There's a 90-day free trial, so we would have it for 90 days, see if we like it. There's no obligation at the end of that 90 days if we decide we don't want it. And there's no contract we have to sign for a year or 5 years or 10 years or anything like that. So if we used it for a year and we determined we don't like it, great, we move on to something else. But the city of Topeka, it's my understanding, and Seelan can speak on that more, that they absolutely love the product. And when Seelan and Rose went and looked at it, I heard nothing but good things from both of them.
So, like, could you go in and under the search and type in big pool, and then anything that ever was on any agenda and the material you could be able to pull that up?
I don't know that it's just word specific. I don't know if Seelan can talk about that. The way that I understand it is you would have to know what you were looking for. If that was actually the name of an agenda item that was indexed, then you could search for that. But if it was just a word that was inside the document, I don't know that you can search for that particular word.
So anyway, that's, we've got that included in the 2016 budget. With the 90-day free trial, you can maybe start using it in November and try it out and see how it looks. So, okay, so that shows the expenses in for 2015, 109,320 and 117,500 for the city manager, city commission budget. City manager budget, we have 4 positions in here, along with the benefits. We also have just the basic operating expenses that we've had in prior years. In new equipment this year, there was a city pool car that was purchased. I think that's been used quite often here since we received it. And that total budget then for 2015 is $522,150 and $527,500 for 2016. Service and finance, there's 11 employees in this area. We've got the salaries and the benefits there. We have a little bit of portion of the audit expense for the city in this area. And just basically office supplies in operating expenses. So the total budget here is $758,250 in 2015 and $770,250 in 2016. Legal services, that's basically your contract services for your city attorney, $137,000 in 2015, $142,000 in 2016. Municipal court, we have 5 employees in this area. You've got the salaries and benefits there. We've got basically just your basic operating expenses. State fee court fines is on the next page. That will coincide with the revenue that is brought in on the revenue side in the general fund. We have legal court appointed. That's always a fairly large item in this area, but it has gone down from prior years. $120,000 on that this year, $150,000 next. New equipment office, $14,000 this year, $10,000 next year. Anything you need to say on municipal court?
I don't think so.
Okay. Any questions for? The maintenance contracts is on basically on that new software.
It's on the software One Justice that the prosecutor's office implemented this last year, and it's the same thing that the police department's implementing at the beginning of next year.
Human resources, 2 employees in this area. You've got the salaries and benefits. And the advisory board would like to have a little bit more money for their program, so I did fund them at $4,000 both years. We're normally at $2,750, so I think they had a few extra little things they wanted to do.
Those expenses by and large are related to the multicultural summit?
Yes.
Or is there a separate place where that comes from?
No, that's, we use part of our money there, and they also get a grant from CBV. We do have a pay plan that is going to be presented to you here very soon that we funded for this year. I think it is complete, and it probably just needs to be reviewed. 3 or 4 years ago, we had the Hay Group come in and take a look at all of the positions in the city of Garden City and do a market analysis on what our pay scales were. And it had been several years since we had that done. So we...
2008.
Yeah. Yeah, that is several years ago, isn't it?
Was the original study 2008? Yeah, this is an update of that. It isn't a complete overhaul. It just checks our comparables again using the framework and the structure of the previous study. And there's going to be recommendations that have come out of that. We've working through their recommendations right now and look to present that to you as part of your budget deliberations as to when we would implement some of the changes that they recommend. The study itself, though, is reflected in this budget.
Yes, and so it's paid for. And then new equipment software, that's a lease payment that we're doing on the human resource software that we purchased 2 years ago. So the total budget is $232,515, and then $182,516, basically due to that one-time expense for the pay plan. IT department, 117. We're proposing a new position in 2016 to have a director down there. There's currently 4 employees down there, and we'd be adding 1 with that director. So we've got that in the 2016 budget. So you've got your salaries and benefits there. Basically all the same expenses as far as operating goes until you get back over to the next page. And I think I'll have Jennifer talk about the items that she has in new equipment office and new equipment software. These are Greek to me, so.
So actually the change, one of the changes that we made, we took a chunk out of the 2015 budget and moved it into the 2016 budget, and that's because of what we talked about earlier with the first payment for the VoIP coming out of the from the electric department. So that was moved over to the next side. But so on the list of things, some of these things are just things that are regular maintenance that happen in the IT department. The 3 blades and drives. One of the things that is included in here was to upgrade the cameras for the city commission room, and that's an upgrade for that's been in the budget that they had talked about doing for 2015. And was included in there because of the cameras and also the audio that goes along with it. They don't work together, and so that had been something that they had talked about doing for a while. So they wanted to keep that in there. The fire suppression is a big piece of that, and that is to protect the server that's downstairs in the basement. We have a couple of different ways that we can do it. We can either draw the air out and do a system that's set up that way, or we can build a whole entire server room off-site. Either way, it's going to be rather expensive, so that's incorporated for in there. And then we also have incorporated in there to do the downstairs in the when you come into like the area of service and finance where the boards are, to do a new kiosk there that would present all of the information that's presented on the old boards that are down there. So that's some of the things that are included in that. And there are some other general just maintenance and that goes in the server room. So I don't know all of the technical details of that, but.
Any questions on IT? Might as well just stay at the next one.
Is that the next one?
Okay, so we've got 6 employees in here, shifting a few people around. I think you were introduced to one of the new employees at your first part of your meeting here today on the city prosecutor. So you've got 5 employees total in this department, along with the benefits, and mainly just basic operating expenses and a few new pieces of office equipment.
That's correct. The only thing that we changed is that we took the legal services down, which is under 533601, and that's taking into account the fact that in previous years, in every previous year, there's always been a city prosecutor, and then Randy Grizel has always been responsible for the backfill of the city prosecutor's office if they took vacation, if they were sick, whatever that would mean. And then recently, Jake Cunningham has been doing that as well. So with Jimmy being the city prosecutor and me being able to backfill for him, it alleviates the services that Randy and Jake have to provide, and significantly what we would have had to budget for 2015 in regards to me being away from the office.
So total expenses in 2015, $348,250, and then $384,500 for 2016.
Back up right quick.
Yeah, sure.
So what are we using right now for fire suppression in the server room? Are we using anything?
No.
Crossed fingers?
Okay.
That's why it needs to be done fairly quickly, and that's why it was included. Yeah, we're using water, which probably isn't going to serve its purpose. It probably needed to be done before, but yeah, we would like to get it done as soon as possible.
No, that's great. Faster, the sooner the better.
Yes, I would agree.
Thank you. Okay, now next one is the police department. We've got 4 or 5 different divisions here. The very first one is police administrative. We've got 6 employees in this area, so you have the salaries and the benefits there. Most all of the police department expenses are in the administrative, so we're going to have quite a few things we're going through here. The rest of the departments is basically just salaries. We do have the professional liability insurance that we have on the police officers here, $28,000 this year, $29,500 next year. Maintenance contracts. There are a ton of maintenance contracts in the police department, and there should be a listing that you have in your information back here. But those are ever changing with the different software that they've got coming on and going off. But anyway, it's $142,750 for 2015, $139,000 next year for 2016. The LEC contract is an amount that we pay for the space that we get over in the LEC building, and it's $170,000 this year, $175,000 next year.
Is that a lease or is that?
It's just a payment it's based on square footage that the police department uses in the total square footage of that building over there.
We have an interlocal agreement with the Finney County that reflects this payment,
Doesn't our own facility do the physical exams?
They do, but they can't do all of them. They can't do all of the tests, so that sometimes they have to go on over to Huntsberger to get a few of those techniques done for the exam for a police officer. So we do have to budget some for physical exams. As you can tell, in 2013 we spent close to $12,000, and we can pretty much cut it in half with our clinic.
Yeah.
We can do quite a bit of the stuff there at the clinic. Next page. Repaired vehicle, that's always a fairly large item with the number of vehicles that we have in the department. Training and education, travel with all of the employees. We have the utilities for the LEC that we pay to the county. Supplies office. Then we get down into the new equipment items. This is where you have these schedules back here. And so if you can go to new equipment office 6100.04, that'll be at the very bottom of your first page there. The items in red are 2015 and the items in black are 2016, things that they're proposing. As you can see, office equipment, office chairs, records equipment in 2016. We've got various office equipment. So we're looking at, in 2015, $8,000 and then $19,200 for 2016. Going on down, you've got new equipment, other. And of course, again, in black, there's 2015 and 2016. We've got the radio system payment with Clayton Holdings. No, that's actually the software. Yeah, that's SunGuard. Sorry, we didn't get that changed. That's Clayton Holdings, and that is the SunGuard payment, $150,205. That is the new software that they're currently installing. We've got replacement of taser units, MDT replacements, e-ticket mobile devices, radar units. For 2015 new equipment, police vehicles, that is currently what we have in a new lease, $53,500. Throw phone video equipment.
What's that? Footage during the.
I always like to hear about the cool equipment.
Good afternoon. The throw phone is a piece of SWAT equipment. We actually purchased it this year, but we're keeping that roughly $8,000 in there to account for additions to the SWAT team and additional equipment that is needed. We combine teams with the county, so that helps us out as far as manpower, but it also expands our footprint a little bit and our responsibilities. So I guess the throw phone is not what it should say. It should say just an addition to the SWAT budget.
Okay. You probably might as well stay up there. You might have a few other things to explain here in a minute.
I brought help.
Oh, and then for 2016, they're proposing 6 police vehicles. In the past, we've been doing 4, and they're getting a little bit behind on getting these replacements done. So we're going to see if we can fit the 6 in 2016 and get back to where we need to have our fleet at.
We have a couple years that we didn't buy vehicles, and we're kind of filling that a little bit.
The Crown Vics are still in patrol. I mean, how many years at 6 at that pace would it take to get cycled out and caught up for the 2 years that we've been budgeting?
Probably 5 years to get caught up and replace the Crown Vics with the Interceptors, and then continue with the upkeep of the current ones.
But you're not replacing, you're not replacing them all with Interceptors, though. You've got.
When I say Interceptors, there's 2 different models. There's the SUV and there's the sedan.
Sure.
They're both all-wheel drive. They both have the same gas mileage. The SUVs are a little bit better because they have more room for the officers. No real additional cost as far as equipment or as far as miles per gallon. So we like the SUVs a little bit better, but the sedans do just as well in snow. So we'll probably have a mishmash of those 2 models.
You're getting Tahoes as well?
This year, and it'll, this year will not be fleet vehicles. They're going to be either unmarked vehicles for the detectives or staff vehicles.
Okay.
Those were previously approved through that Kansas Highway Patrol Partners? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
That was at the first of the year, and we've already got the lease going on those vehicles for 2015.
How come, so we got some new vehicles and new equipment, and then right underneath that, we have new equipment vehicles and some more?
It might be the equipment for those vehicles.
Oh, I see, okay, right. We got 6 equipments and 2 patrol vehicles?
Yes, yeah.
Unfortunately, it costs a lot of money
I
to
see.
put the equipment into the
Right,
vehicles.
right.
Then also in new equipment vehicles, for 2016, there's a vehicle that they are proposing that you might want to know a little bit about. It's called a Bearcat vehicle. We can finance this vehicle over 7 payments. And the first payment bit would be roughly $40,000, and that would be each and every year. So if you'd like to talk about the Bearcat?
Sure. It's an armored vehicle. It replaces our current armored vehicle, which is roughly 30 years old. I think I've pushed or pulled that vehicle more than I've ridden in it, just from the SWAT aspect. That coupled with the ballistic rating is not what it necessarily should be for today's day and age. It was made 30 years ago. We've had more problems with the vehicle than probably we've had. It's helped us. But we use it on every SWAT operation that we go out on, just as basically a command post for the SWAT team should something go bad. That coupled with we can use it as a rescue vehicle to deliver other emergency services to incidents, floods. A lot of agencies use it when there's flooding, which we've had across the country this year. Active shooter events, we can deliver fire and EMS to where they're needed. So,
Can't you get vehicles now from the Army?
it depends on what vehicle they are, and we can.
For free?
Not necessarily for free. We have to pay an acquisition cost. That's a percentage of what the vehicle costs. The big downfall, I guess, that when we looked at that, number one, you go on a waiting list and you're not guaranteed the vehicle. Number two, maintenance and upkeep. The vehicle that we're proposing is on a Ford chassis, so our fleet maintenance will be able to work on it. Those vehicles are not on a Ford chassis. And then there's a lot of negative publicity about those vehicles, and municipalities getting them because they're called mine resistant and armored personnel carriers, so MRAPs. And so there's a lot of negative publicity that goes with it, plus the upkeep. We decided not to go down there. The Peacekeeper that we have is from that program. Plus there's a little bit of talk about maybe that program going away for those armored vehicles. So that's kind of the thought process we used in not applying for that. I can't answer what the acquisition cost would be, because it's a percentage of what the overall vehicle cost was to the military.
Also in this area is an unmarked vehicle of $20,000. What we're doing with that piece of equipment, we're going to fund it out of one of your drug enforcement funds instead of out of the general fund. So that's why in 2016, instead of budgeting the $244, we budgeted $222. We also have existing leases that we're paying on. We have a page back here that shows all of those. And $46,200 for new equipment other. That is going to be your computer replacements, air cards with Verizon, audio, video, forensic computer replacement, and MDTs. So once we get through all that equipment, the total administrative budget here is $1,864,750, and then in 2016, $1,999,750. Before we go any further on any of this equipment or anything, do you have any questions that you'd like to have answered on just this administrative part?
I'm sorry? Are you fully staffed? We're 2 down right now. Okay. As far as sworn, I can't answer the non-sworn. We got one. six non-sworn positions open. Actively recruiting and advertising for all of those positions, except for the chief position right now. And that will be forthwith.
Sure.
Yeah, when you're fully staffed or you're getting close to fully staffed in the police department, it really makes a difference in the budget, because a lot of times we've had a lot of savings when we go to our estimate of the current year, because they say they have 10 openings. Well, we can drastically reduce that salary line item, and this year we weren't really able to. So what we budgeted for is kind of what we're stuck with, what we're with this year, so.
One of the issues, when we say we're fully staffed, we have 5 at the academy right now, and so they don't count. I mean, they don't count on the street helping us do our job. 4th of July, they're not gonna count helping us with fireworks. And then when they get out, they still have 3 months worth of FTO, so that's now another person off the street that's responsible for training them. So it's kind of a misnomer when we say we're fully staffed as far as the sworn positions, because it's they don't count for about 8 months to a year, really. And even then, as a sergeant, you don't count them for another 6 months, because they're still getting there, still learning what to do.
Okay.
Okay, so next area is investigations. We've got, what? Oh, you got a question?
No, I thought he thought he was done.
We have 11 people in this area, and along with the benefits, and like I say, there's just a few of the little operating expenses when you come to these funds. So we have $908,500 in 2015 and $982,250 in 2016. Patrol. Patrol is requesting 2 additional patrol officers in 2016. So they're going from 41 to 43, same number of sergeants and captains. So you've got the total salaries and benefits in the patrol area. And of course the gas, oil, diesel is fairly high in this department. $3,586,300 total budget for 15, $3,882,50 for 2016. Would you like to talk about 2 additional patrol officers and
Sure.
what's your use?
Absolutely, and I'll invite any of the other staff members to jump in, but basically we've been looking at for about the last year and a half is the growth in Garden City and how we're going to combat it really and maintain the quality of life and the customer service that we have at the police department. And the problem that we ran into is the intangibles and putting a number or a cost to a police car driving down your city street making you feel safe. So when we looked at it, we looked at the footprint of Garden City getting bigger, because it is the additional residents and the additional businesses that are going in, coupled with the special events and the special assignments that we're responsible for that we've taken on. Some of those include the runs, the parades, some of the community outreach stuff that we have going on, the cultural outreach stuff that we have going on with the Burmese and Somali populations as well. That, and then the special assignments, we have SROs, and we have 4 SROs that we're responsible for. We have a bailiff and we have an airport officer. So all of that thrown in the pot when we do our planning and our strategic planning, we just, when you think about that, and then the 8 to 12 months it takes to get an officer trained and out on the street, we want to get ahead of the curve and not be behind, especially when we have new businesses coming in and we don't have enough manpower to address all the stuff that's coming in. So
Those 2 right there, that would be for what you would need right now, but are you going to continue to have to grow on the east side because of the population increase and the businesses out there? And what do you anticipate probably in the next 5 years?
2 each year, sir.
2 each year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we've talked about it and looked at it, and that's gonna, it's gonna address the growth. It's gonna address, right now we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And we're maintaining, but barely. You know, we have officers that are from different divisions that are having to cover because we have so many special assignments going on, and we want to maintain that quality and that customer service. So,
Do you foresee a need for maybe an outreach station out there or substation or something of that nature?
I think a place where the officers can take a break and not be in the public eye is a good thing, and where they can do their paperwork. In the past, we've always handwritten our paperwork. Now, a lot of it's digital, so it's going to have the infrastructure to support that and talk to the computers that we have. But definitely, there's a need for a substation, just office space, I think, where they can go use the restroom and eat their lunch if they need to. So, absolutely.
Okay. It's going that way, and it's something that we as a commission need to look at and addressing in that. It's one thing that's on the CIP for the future for a fire station out there, and maybe that's something that could be included into an area that would give you 24-hour access for those people. But it's growing, and then we still have to have people walking around, not only in the business areas, but in the residential. It's kind of nice in those businesses and hotels know that you're driving through there once in a while.
Absolutely.
So I guess instead of 2 if you're kind of lagging behind because of all the training and everything, would 3 be better for you instead of requesting 2?
Well,
I'm just asking.
Absolutely, it would. But there's other stuff that we've identified, obviously, 3 major things that we're requesting.
Sure.
Personnel, we know that it's going to be an ongoing request and an ongoing fight. Like I said, the struggle that we're having is putting data to support it, because I can't tell you how safe you feel when I drive down your street. And that's what we're struggling with. So yes, it would. We also have to upgrade our fleet. We have to.
Sure.
So there's some other things that 2 will be good.
Well, too, if you think about it, to have 1 extra officer on the street every day, it's really 4 employees.
Sure.
You need 4 employees just to have 1 extra officer on the street every day.
True.
So,
And another area that I'd address as far as growth and need is traffic. Obviously, traffic on a Saturday out in the new addition there at Shulman, it's increased. We can count how many accidents we've had, but we can't count how many near misses we've had or traffic violations that have occurred. And we've seen a major increase in the traffic flow. I'm sure we all have out there. So it's a concern to extra patrol that area to keep the accidents down to a minimum, and that just we don't have the manpower right now to do that.
We scaled back our traffic unit a little bit. We have 2 full-time officers now that are responsible for that, down from 5. And we definitely have the numbers to support traffic enforcement in reducing accidents. So like Randy's saying, it's there. We just don't have the manpower to staff it right now.
Okay.
Okay, so that brings
I guess that's why I asked.
Yeah.
If that's an issue, instead of asking for 2, should we be looking at 3?
What I would say is when those 5 come back from the academy, and if they stay, then we're going to be better than we were. With 2 additional, we're going to be better than that. With 2 each year, it gets better. The problem is the retention, making sure we keep them, and we don't have to start that process all over again.
Unfortunately, that's just the nature of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that has the patrol budget at $3,586,300, and next year $3,882,50. The next area is support services, and we've got Kathy here. We do have some vacancies in this area, so we've adjusted 2015 for those vacancies. 26 total employees in this area.
yes.
I just counted them up too.
Yeah. Because not all non-sworn are mine.
So we have the salaries and benefits there, and just a few little operating expenses. The total expenses in 2015, $1,376,000, $1,502,250. And like I say, with those vacancies, you see a little bit of savings in 2015 when you adjust salary line items.
We do have two on the line, and we have 2 more that are going through the process. So for communications anyway, we have potential to be full. We're still short a records clerk, we're still short 1 in evidence.
Very good. Any questions there?
And you said the new software should be up and running?
Yeah, we've already started.
Okay.
That all started in January of this year. We're just, right now, most of the work is on the SunGuard side as far as today. They dialed in to look at data and look and see what it would take to have data conversions from the old to the new. We've had our CAD maintenance training, which is how you build the CAD, which is computer-aided dispatch, is what dispatch uses to dispatch. Here in a while, we'll move to the records management and to the field, to the patrol where they use in the cars. And right now, a tentative go-live date is April of next year.
Okay, any questions there? Animal control is the last division in the police department. And we also share these expenses with the sheriff's department, so you're gonna see that, you know, this isn't a true total cost of your animal control. It's about 60% of it, because we do receive money from them that gets credited into the line items. But there's 5 employees that we're budgeting for in animal control, along with their benefits, and fuel costs, just basically building repair, just everything to operate your animal facility.
Have you got a misprint there?
That 54,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then then I changed it to 5,500 for the approved.
5,400, right?
Yeah, 5,400 and 5,500. Is that right?
Yes,
that's okay. Emily Burns helps me a lot on the police department budget, and she's been around almost a year now.
July will be a year.
Okay, so she's done a great job, so appreciate all her help. She puts a lot of this information together. Okay, all right, so the next page shows total expenses for police department. 2015, $7,989,500, and then you're looking at $8,629,150. So, there you go.
Safety costs a lot of money, doesn't it?
And that's only part of it. Fire department's next time. Okay. Steve needs to leave, so we're going to skip over planning just real quick and go to engineering. So skip 2 pages and go to engineering. We've got 2 employees that are funded out of this department, and along with their benefits. And Steve needs training every once in a while, and he also has to travel.
And intervention.
And he also has to be on the phone.
Yeah.
So new equipment is basically some computer replacement this year, next year, is that right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they operate pretty efficiently on a budget of $250,615 and $253,250 for 16.
There are actually 4 people in engineering, plus my intern. Ray Lane is paid out of solid waste, and Larry Emsworth, our inspector, is paid out of the drainage utilities. You don't see the whole picture of what engineering costs. We do have a total of 4 full-time. Thank you.
Any questions for him? So now you can flip back 2 pages, and we'll talk about planning. We've got 5 employees in this area, along with their benefits. As far as the expenses go, they're pretty much the same as they were last year. Training and education does go up a little bit when you have a few more employees in your budget, along with travel.
The salaries went up, what, 30?
You added a planner this year, right?
Is that what it is?
Added a position.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it didn't start until the middle of the year.
Correct.
Yeah. And so that's why the salaries are 134 in 2015 and then 167. So it's, they're starting at mid-year on that. Next page, new equipment office, just basically office equipment for the new planner and all that, right, Kayla? Okay. So we have 401,500 in 2015 and 448,250 in 2016. So that takes in the new planner for a full year in 2016. Any questions there? Okay, so we've done engineering. Inspections. We've also got Caleb here for that. I think he's probably feeling pretty good about his staff. He's got 3 city inspectors now, and administrative secretary plus a code enforcement officer. So we've got 5 employees in this area. So you've got the salaries and the benefits there.
Actually, that's 6 total.
Is it 6?
Yeah, there'd be 2 administrative secretaries.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, I have that wrong. Thank you. Yeah, that would be kind of high, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so there 6 full-time employees. Basically, just the operating expenses that we've had in the past. If you'll go back to the back page, we've got new equipment office. We've got the details there as far as what we have coming in for 15 and 16. We're looking at some new software. If you'd like to talk to him about that, what your process is on that.
Yeah, we've been working on this for about a year with not only the planning and inspections department, but it crosses lines with several other departments with public utilities, public works, engineering, and finance. Looking at a software when we do the plan review process, trying to streamline that so that we don't have anyone forgetting anything when new projects come in. It's kind of a check and balance software that we've been looking in to help us go through that process. And that's what we're looking at. This kind of covers our portion of that, and the rest will be coming as we split that with the other departments and divisions to do that. And that's kind of what that software goes towards doing. So we can do site plans, it'll do the inspections, it'll do the code enforcement, it'll do several other items that may be applicable that other departments will be using as well. So it's something that just helps us provide a better service across the board.
In 2016, we're looking at a replacement pickup, $25,000 on it, computers at $4,500, and LEPG contract. We had that budgeted for. It's been told several times in the budget process, and it's something that we could address. Would you like to let them know?
Yeah, the LEPG contract is the contract over services for the local environmental planning group. They do. We're contracted with the county through interlocal agreement to provide the services for the county for their inspections, which includes sanitary services in septic systems out in the county. And we've had the LEPG has been performing that. We've contracted with them to do that and subcontracted with them to do that in the county. And their funds from the building permit or the permits for those, because Finney County is one of the larger counties in that has been covering a lot of those costs in there for those expenses. But each one of the counties that participate in the LEPG have a cost allotment for each county, which is with that $4,500 for flex.
One thing we've got in here is keep having a line for telephones.
Yeah, what we'll end up doing with the telephone money that we're going to be saving, we're still going to have, maintenance costs with the VoIP. So we will be able to, we thought we might as well just keep that money in there as a little bit of a cushion for telephone costs, and then it'll go away when we amend things in 2016. So,
Because I mean, it counts quite a bit.
Yeah.
When you add it all up for each
Yeah.
department.
and so then that'll help out next year. We're leaving it that way just because it's uncertain.
Well, and until it's fully implemented, we still, in some departments, we're still gonna be paying their phone service. Once it's fully implemented, then they can pull those out or use those for other things at that point in time.
Let's see, that's a total of $465,500 for 2015 and $521,250 for 2016 in inspection. And the last one that we're gonna look at today is parks. We've got Andy and Sam here. We have 18 full-time employees in this area. So it has their salaries and benefits. We've got some maintenance contracts, basically for public restrooms, being paid for out of here. A little bit for repair buildings and equipment. On the next page, we're looking at, would you like to talk about welcome signs? Where you're at on that? It's been on there for a long time.
Yeah, on the welcome signs, I went down to the CBB to talk to them a few months ago, and I need to get back down there again. They're in a little transition, and so we need to kind of just get in there and get room on their agenda for a meeting to talk about it and just get some dialogue going about that. And so I just need to be proactive on that and move forward on that. And I talked to her a couple months ago and just wanted to give them a little time to get back on the ground, and then we'll get back in there and deal with it on that. One correction, she said 18 full-time employees. It's actually 12 with 6 seasonals, so there is a difference
Oh, yeah,
there
sorry
how
about that.
works. So.
And we have 18.5 also, so that's.
We had
That was Alan.
half of Alan.
We still have to deal with Alan.
Thought we were rid of that guy.
I hope he's watching.
If he is,
More of his
if he is,
retirement than that.
if he is, that was Dan.
Yeah, right.
Sorry about that, Andy, that I
That's okay.
had that added up there wrong for you. We can probably just go on down now into the shared facility expense. That's a line item that we've added in the Parks Department to take care of some of the rec
Public
commission.
facilities.
Public areas
Yes.
that are more than just our city parks to take care of. We have 70,000 both years in that. And in new equipment other, it's on the next page. There's a little bit of a detail for you there. In 2015, we're looking at a 11-inch mower.
11 foot?
Unless it's a trailer.
No, 11-foot Toro deck mower, 60,000 in 26. And in 2016, a 4-wheel ATV and a new half-ton replacement 4-wheel drive pickup. That has the total Parks Department in 2015 at $1,001,250 and $1,014,250 in 2016. Is there anything you'd like to talk to Andy about?
The utility gas, it's been highlighted, is that just because they're moving?
Yeah.
Or is that?
Yes.
Yeah, they're hoping to move into the old water department.
Once they get the new one?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's just because it's a bigger facility?
yeah, yeah.
We're not gonna expend the full 40 or 70,000 on the shared facility expense, are we? Is that kind of an estimate? Or
That's an estimate. We're going to spend up to that, but we're trying to put together projects. We're also working with the radio station to do some upgrades to that facility. But the first
Where
round,
public radio is.
the public radios that do some upgrades. And then the first field that we're going to work with the rec on is Clint Leitner, so we got to wait for the baseball program to get done. So it might not get it all spent, but it's there to help with those expenses.
Okay.
And that takes care of everything I was going to talk about today. So next meeting, you'll have the audit report. Then we'll go into the balance of the funds, which is fire, zoo, and cemetery, along with capital improvement. We'll take a look at the revenues, and we'll have some estimates for you on where you stand and try to get your ideas on where you'd like us to take it from there. That'll give us 2 weeks. You know, we hope that we have the valuation before July 1st, but they don't have to have it out until then. But if we can get your ideas, and once we know what that valuation is, we can work toward the goal that you have for your mill levy.
And right now, I would say we could be in a position to have a notice of public hearing ready to go for that first meeting in July.
Yes.
It may not, depending on when we get done from the county, it may not be something that we can have prepared for the packet, but we will have, based on that last discussion, a hypothetical number in there that we can adjust them from once we get the exact number that we need.
So if that sounds okay to you, that's how we'll proceed. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. That, Commissioners, all that's left is the consent agenda and commission reports. There was an amended agenda that was sent out late yesterday, and it included an additional license, and we really needed to add that for the purpose of accommodating what shows up in the amended agenda as item 11H8B, the Beef Empire Days Rodeo temporary cereal malt beverage license, and that's in conjunction with something that I believe is occurring this weekend or the following weekend. So you were going to have another meeting in time to consider that. So I think gives them some backup planning, I think is what that's for, in case their primary event doesn't work out. All right, so if you approve the consent agenda, it would be for items H1 through 8G.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda H1 through G.
Second?
Been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next commissioner reports. Commissioner Cessna.
Well, she left, but I was going to welcome Angie, the new government reporter, covering the meetings. But she left, so, but welcome. Zoo is having a lot of births here lately, and we're very excited to see all of the newborns at the zoo. It's exciting times for the zoo. Big Bull is open, and I see it's being well attended. So we'll see how our water consumption goes throughout the summer here. Congratulations to Captain Pruitt on his interim role as Garden City Police Chief. Income tax revenue is looking really good in our reports. Striping on the streets is looking good in the community. It really brightens up the town. So tell your crew good job on that. I know they're out still striping, but
working campus drives, or they're doing crack sealing on campus
and they're
drives.
doing crack sealing too. Yeah.
Busy.
So yeah, really busy, but
I'll pass it on.
good job. Tell the motorists to watch out for the crews that are working and slow down. Be mindful of the crews that are working out on the streets as well. I attended the Body Venture today at Florence Wilson, which is the start of the summer food service program in the community, and that'll run through July. So it's free food service for children that are 18 and younger in the community, and there's a number of locations that are serving hot meals to students throughout the community. So I attended that this morning on behalf of the commission and the school district as well. That's all I've got.
Commissioner Dale?
I would ditto what Commissioner Cessna said on your temporary I think you'll do a good job from the people that I've talked to. I think you're well respected. Glad to have you there. I want to say thanks to Sam and his crew for the beautification they're doing and getting the striping and the stuff that's out there that's being done in our city, and also the parks have done a great job this year, and they're really preparing it for the Beef Empire Days, beautifying the right-of-ways and stuff, and it's really looking good as people come in. Of course, Mother Nature has really helped us out a lot to green it up, and it just looks like a garden city, and so we should be very proud of that. And the Beef Empire Days will be here, so I think we all need to get out and participate as not only citizens but as commissioners to attend a few of the events. I refuse to ride with my fellow commissioner in there if he has this big hat on inside this little V.
Well, that's a Mexican fiesta, so.
You'll find something to do.
I could.
But anyway, it's fun to drive around and see how our city's growing and see how good it looks. And if you go to some of these other towns, it'll jar your teeth driving down some of the roads. We're doing good. Thank you.
Commissioner Law?
Well, I'd echo welcome as chief to Captain Pruitt, and Randy's been filling in as IT director, so, or not IT, I mean HR, and so those guys talk about their staffing issues, and then here we're calling on their abilities at other things too.
All right, point taken.
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, the other side of that is what a talented staff we have that can keep up their own duties and help out in other places. And in the interim, I mean, it'll all change back the way eventually, but in the interim, so that's a good deal. And we all say all the time, you know, and we've said it today, some, you know, that whether it's the streets or, you know, any of the other things we talked about, you know, staff really puts forth 110%, and that's noticed. You know, I've never interacted a lot with Joel personally in the past, but it certainly is, you know, basically born and raised Garden City, you know, 23 years didn't surprise me because, you know, that he's been around a long time, and he's as friendly a person as you'll ever meet, so somebody that's deserving of a little recognition. So, you know, fireworks, that's a tough one, and our police and fire are put in a tough situation through no fault of theirs or the city commissions. We're asked to, you know, make it easier on them, which I'm all for. I think, even though, you know, I don't think I can go for the 10 days, but and didn't vote for it. But I think the answer is in the shortened sales time. You know, something in between somewhere where we can then allow the discharge at the same time. I think doing it at the same time is key, and I absolutely agree with police and fire when they say that's the way to handle it. I just think the 10 days part of it is too much. So I would, you know, I don't know what latitude the county has for reducing the days, whether they would, but as you mentioned, you know, in some talks for maybe trying to find a better solution in the future, I think if we could find a shortened sales time, you know, I don't want to take anything away from the retailers, but by the same token, you know, there's got to be something in between that allows us to celebrate the true meaning in a more compressed time, but not completely go to no discharge and no sales at all, which I think it could come to someday if it gets worse and worse and worse, and that's what would be my fear. I would never support, you know, doing away with it completely, but so that's what I hope, and you know, in time we can look into that a little bit more about what are our opportunities to shorten the sales time and help us out with the discharge time. So that's all I have.
Gosh, there's nothing left. No, Joel, I think that's great that we can recognize somebody like that in the private sector, and you know, that kid's done a lot with his abilities. I had a meeting this morning with a couple of citizens about the elephants, so that's still out there. I don't know what's the status since I recommended you, Commissioner Dale. Have you had any meetings or what's anything?
We did have one meeting, and there's several zoos that they're looking at, and they've sent out packet
RFP.
to them to see what they have to offer to be able to basically adopt an elephant, or adopt the elephants. But that's where that's at right now. It's waiting, I think, probably in the next couple of months, they'll have information back on that.
Good, because there were two people here that have lived here most of their lives. And they want to keep the elephants. They think it's a great asset to the community, and they don't see the problem. But anyway, that was fresh on my mind. The other thing was the sales tax continues to grow. Looks like we're up, not an all-time, but it's I think about the third largest month that we've had. So that's good news. That's all I have.
I too would like to congratulate Captain Pruitt on being appointed as interim chief of police. Congratulations. And we'd also like to congratulate Joel Salmons for his special day. When I go to Dillon's, I actually look for Joel because he just is such a happy, nice person, and it makes it fun. And I would like to congratulate James Dummermuth being appointed as city prosecutor, and remind everybody to participate in the Beef Empire Days events. And also last week I was able to share a few days of time with the class of Leadership Kansas. It was an amazing event, and the comments that were made about the community, about Garden City, saying that this was what they hear is this is the best place to go during their tour of different communities. And I'd like to thank the host families who have them at their homes for steak dinners, and also the ambassadors with Leadership Kansas for assisting them in getting to their events and just taking care of them and welcoming them with open arms. And that's all.
It's fun.
Oh, I did hear, I did get a letter from someone expressing some concern about some activities at the park, and I know that you guys will be addressing that, so.
A specific park or?
The zoo park.
The zoo. I have one other quick
Okay.
question. I know Commissioner Dale, it kind of popped into my mind when Commissioner Dale brought up parks. Have we heard or seen or had an increase in citizens concerned with nuisance of overgrown grass or weeds or that type of thing with all the additional rains that we've seen the last month?
On city parks, not that I've...
Well, not on city parks, but,
Oh,
sometimes,
weeds in general,
like weeds in general,
yards.
people's yards. Sometimes about this time, we start getting more.
Yes.
We have, okay.
Yes. Yeah, we only have one person in, so it is increased over that week.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that
And now
rain.
it's warming up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna grow.
I know our parks crew does a great job. I was just, other residents that, I don't know if you've heard, you've got, okay.
Yes, there are a lot of people upset with neighbors, and
Sure.
they get lots and things like that.
Okay.
Is that it?
I guess.
I'll call this meeting adjourned.
Bang. Oh,
There you go.
It's official now.
I need a bling. I need bling.
bling on that.